Okay, so I've made a few videos over the past year, and I can confidently say that this channel is focused on tech. This makes me a tech YouTuber, right? So the title says that I'm going to try air cooling for the first time, and this is not clickbait, as surprising as that may seem. Out of all of my personal builds, I have never slapped a fin stack on a CPU, opting to go straight from installing the CPU to water cooling instead. When I first started purchasing computers, I was an Apple fanboy, starting with the Mac Mini, working my way all the way up to the 27-inch iMac top spec. Now my buddies kept telling me about this incredible thing that you can do with Windows PC, gaming. So I built my first Windows machine in 2015 when the 6700K released. This CPU was incredible at the time, and I know some people that are still rocking it today. After heavily overclocking and then delidding, lapping, and liquid metaling, I swapped it out for a 7700K. Also water cooled. Then came the 8700K. 6 cores, baby. Water cooled it. Upgrade to an i9? Yes, please. Also water cooled. Now I have a 5950X under a custom loop here for my main rig, and a 10900K with an AIO for my test bench, which is back here. At no point have I ever had an air cooler for more than a couple runs on the test bench, and after that, it's back to water cooling. So why now? Well, I absolutely love the looks of the MasterFrame 700 open air case from Cooler Master. I also love the looks of the movable wings that I rigged up. Yeah. It's pretty cool. But I've been doing a lot of component testing recently, and some of those components are a little chunky, and the smaller test bench that I've been using back there just isn't cutting it anymore. I also don't have time to be maintaining such a complex loop like this. What I want is a permanent build that will sit on my desk back there, and I can use it for gaming, editing, and things like that. My main issue with a custom loop like this is just time. I don't have the time to maintain it. It feels like I just got this thing up and running, and it's already time to drain it out, flush it, and add new fluid. And that's something that I want to avoid now. I want to focus my attention on making these videos and doing the testing that I need to for that. So before we get started, I need to drain this loop, tear it apart, and then get to work building this back up inside a new case. So I'm going to be using the Thermaltake P3 for this display build, and the air cooler that I have chosen to cool the 5950X is going to be this. It's from Antec, and it is capable of cooling even the most demanding... Okay, I can't. This is just something to play with. It's going to be this right here. It is the Noctua DH15 Chromax. Now this has battled against other air coolers and AIOs and come out on top. It has set the standard for air cooling and might just be the cooler that switches my water-focused brain. The Chromax is just the better looking version of the original DH15 and will fit the theme of my build, which is dark. The motherboard is the Asus X570 Crosshair Dark. The memory is RGB, but when that's off, it's dark. The case, black. Power supply, black. Cables, white, purple, and blue. Yeah, not black. I know, but hear me out. The fans are the Thermaltake Ring Quads, which have like a bajillion LEDs. And that means I'll be able to match the cable colors. It may look like garbage. We will see when I'm done. My main goal here is not to be quieter with air cooling, but it is to get the same performance with less maintenance, which clearly air cooling is the least amount of maintenance that you can possibly have. Just dust out your system and you're done. Without further ado, if there's a build to be had, a montage must follow. Roll it! Okay, so everything has been removed from the Master Frame 700 case. Now that has been set up as a test bench that I'll be using for all future hardware testing. Let's go over some of the components that we have here that we're going to be putting into that P3 case in just a second. So you've got your thermal take fans. I think I'm only going to be able to use 3 of these. These are the ring quads. We have T-Force RAM. Those are 32 gigabyte, 3600 sticks, so 64 gigabytes total. We've got our Super Flower LeadX 1300, I believe, watt power supply. And there is a bit of a problem with this power supply. Not with the power supply itself, but with what this power supply is replacing, which is my Corsair H1200i, HX1200i. That actually had an issue where it was giving incorrect power to the motherboard and not allowing it to turn on. So that is currently going back for RMA. Now, the issue with that is that I ordered a set of cables from CableMod. Those are specific to the Corsair power supply. So now that I've switched to the Superflower, I'm gonna have to depin those connectors that were made specifically for the Corsair and then repin them to something that fits the Superflower. That's gonna take a little bit of time, something I probably won't do today. Maybe I will make a video showing you guys how to do that in case you have a similar situation. I also have to put the stock cooler back on the 3090 there. And once that's all done, give everything a good clean and then assemble it inside the P3. So once again, another build montage. Roll it! So here it is, the finished product and my first completely air-cooled PC. There are some things that surprised me along the way, both good and bad. For starters, air coolers are massive. When you're used to slapping on a water block or AIO pump assembly, air coolers are downright intimidating. Look at it! It takes up the entire top half of the motherboard. Granted, this is one of the biggest fin stacks you can get, but it's absolutely necessary to keep the 5950X cool. Now, surprise number 2 is clearance issues. I didn't have to worry about it before, but now I can see that some memory just doesn't work for this setup, and some low profile sticks should be purchased instead. I had to relocate the second fan from its original side over here, where it interfered with the memory, to over here, where it actually bumped up against the I/O stack. This raised the fan up till it was, well, barely touching the front glass there. It still looks good and everything fits, and that fan is absolutely necessary. Surprise number 3. It's quiet, like really quiet. Having 2 gigantor fans here helps with that because they can push more air at lower RPMs. I had a preconceived notion in my head that air coolers were going to be much louder than a custom loop. Wrong-o. At full tilt, these fans aren't loud at all and are easily drowned out by the screaming Dell 3090. We'll talk temps in a little bit, but first, that final surprise. This 3090 is loud. Like, louder than any graphics card in the history of ever. Unfortunately, that is the reason why this build here is not going to stay fully air-cooled. I've got to throw a GPU loop on here and bring that noise down. I will be keeping the DH15 on here though, because it's beautiful and it doesn't require any maintenance other than the occasional dusting, which is super convenient having an open air case. Now let's talk about those temps. Try as it might, the DH15 can't compete with a custom loop and 2 360mm rads. A smaller AIO? Maybe. Well, proven that yes, they're about the same. But that custom loop just has too much cooling power. Now this 5950X is locked at 4.6 gigahertz on all 16 cores, which produces an incredible amount of heat. How much? Well, running Cinebench for 30 minutes gave us a peak temperature of 88 degrees and a settled temp of around 85. Now that's pretty toasty and nowhere near the super low temps that you can achieve with a custom loop. But remember, no draining or cleaning on this. And those temps are within the safe TDP and there was no throttling. Remember that Cinebench is unique with the load that it puts on the CPU, so temps during gameplay and everyday use are going to be much lower. Overall, I'm very pleased with the look and performance of this whole setup, and I think it fits quite nicely on my desk. Now, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for when I throw a GPU loop on here. Maybe I'll take you guys along for the ride with some tips and tricks along the way. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.